Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Well, let me talk to you.
Yeah, and we have a lot to talk about on this week's episode, so we definitely want to make sure we keep that conversation rolling after the show. So, Pad, where does everybody head on over to?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swing on over to the website. Check out the social media links. We are growing in a lot of accounts, so thank you so much for interacting with us and making sure those numbers grow, because it's all about that algorithm, all about getting the conversation to as many people as we can, and obviously go from there, because it means the absolute world to us. Also, check out the T Public Store link. Rumors of a sale is lurking, so you never know when. But you always want to make sure you check it out so you can see the newest designs we have coming up, because we have a couple things in the works too. So you definitely want to make sure you add that to your collection. Also, the Patreon link, $1 tier, $2 a month. It definitely helps support the show. And the blog section, the directory, which, Pat, how many providers are we on?
880,000.
Sounds about right to me. The classified section, where you can find friends of the show, such as 3FN Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, and many more. The music section, where you can find out everything going on with Floodlands, Tom Jolu, Shout Out the Robots, Brian Wolf, and the Howlers. That's the official name. I'm so used to just saying it's Brian Wolf. But he has a lot of great things going on. You heard his former band at the beginning of the show. But we're going to hopefully get some new music from Brian sent to us very soon. Sent up from Austin, Texas, because that's where he's located. But more or less, if it's anything and everything, it is the ODPH. You can find it at odphpodcast.com. And on the social media accounts, always remember to use that hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the show, we have to recap a big event that went down in the land of pro wrestling. And it is the biggest event of the summer. It is the WWE's party of the summer, if you will.
Yes.
And, Pat, what are we going to be talking about?
We were talking about SummerSlam, the annual pay-per-view. They have one of their big 4 or 5, depending on how you look at it.
It's 5 now. I think we can safely say that.
But it takes place every year around this time of year. This year it took place from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan, with an announced crowd of 59,194. But according to rumors and some sources and some reporting on the internet,
Allegedly,
it's 51,477. Either way, who cares? It's just numbers. They hit more than 50,000 people into that building, which you could tell the crowd showed up.
Oh, absolutely. According to the press release, the fine folks of the WWE sent the ODPH, quoting, with a 59,194 in attendance in the Motor City, SummerSlam generated a record gate of 8.5 million. Let alone a lot of other ones that, honestly, let's just say this. WWE is winning right now.
Yeah, they are.
In pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate WWE sending that to us, but we can definitely say, as we saw the show, it definitely reflected there was a packed house.
Yeah.
And they were excited to have some WWE action.
Say 3FN's own Ron was in attendance.
Yes, he was, which was awesome to see.
Hell of a seat he had there.
Yes.
Wow.
So congratulations to Ron for that. I know if you listen to the latest 3FN podcast, they talk a little bit about that. If you're on their Patreon, you get a little bit more. So you definitely want to make sure you sign up for that. So, after quoting the WWE press release, let us get into the recap of the weekend that was, Pat.
Yeah, so the first match that took place on this card, because there was nothing in the pre-show, was a singles matchup between Logan Paul and Ricochet, and you had Logan Paul emerge victorious, beating Ricochet in 18 minutes, even via pinfall, although there were, of course, a little bit of shenanigans involved. One of Logan Paul's boys, I know Michael Cole at one point was going to say who it was, but he never got around to it, so I don't know who it is. I'm not intimately familiar with Logan Paul's posse outside of KSI. But one of his boys handed him a pair of brass knuckles, some brass knucks, after Logan Paul got spilled out onto the outside the ring there, and he came in and he gave old Ricochet the old uppercut, the old cross the face with the punch, not quote unquote knocked him out, and got the pinfall and win. And you know what? Good match and good opening.
Absolutely. This match did what it needed to do. Got the crowd excited.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Logan Paul, and you can say a lot. But as far as him being a WWE performer, he is very, very good.
Yeah, he is.
You can't take that away from him. He definitely knows how to get the crowd riled up. He definitely knows how to work them. He can definitely match up with a lot of the wrestlers with the athleticism. And especially with Ricochet, who is known for his high-flying aerial assaults.
Yes.
He needs somebody to keep up that speed. Logan is somebody that can. And granted, they didn't do any kind of super crazy spot like they did at the Royal Rumble.
No. Didn't need it, though.
But they told a great story.
Yeah.
And that is showing, one, the growth of Logan Paul in the business, and two, how much WWE trusted Ricochet with this match.
Right.
Because, let's face it, Logan is a social media celebrity. He's not really a wrestler per se,
Right.
as far as the definition goes. But he can definitely go in the ring, and to see them work together, they had great chemistry. There was one moment that you saw Logan try doing a DDT off the top rope.
Yes.
And Ricochet caught him, and they spun it into a reversal. It was effortless.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
It was one of the coolest spots of the entire weekend. I know it's not getting a lot of praise.
No.
But if you understand how wrestling goes, that was a perfectly planned spot, and it looked flawless.
Right. And just for as relatively inexperienced as Logan Paul is, sure, he's got all the talent in the world, and sure, he looks great in the ring. And, he's gone up with some of the best of them in the ring, and he's come out looking like $1 million, But with as little time as he has, the fact that he pulled that off flawlessly, I would not have faulted him if he tried that and it got botched it somewhere along the way. Because I'm like, hey, listen, you're still relatively new. Shit happens. I get it, but you could not tell he is relatively new to this.
No, he definitely showed a very experienced poise to him. And this was a great match to kick off the night. Obviously, Logan left right after the match.
In his gear.
Right, to go to his brother's boxing match with Nate Diaz.
Yep.
So he didn't stick around to see the rest of the card, but we did, so we have to get into the rest of the event.
Yeah, so the next card up, or next match up, I should say, was the singles matchup between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar for the third time. And this time, Cody Rhodes emerged victorious, beating Brock Lesnar via pinfall in 17 minutes and 35 seconds. And of course, the story with this after the match is Brock Lesnar gets up, takes off the gloves. I think everyone with a little bit of memory started collectively going, oh, holy shit, because the last time he did this, he busted Randy Orton's head open. But no, he kind of did a little head-to-head. I couldn't tell, even watching the clip back on Monday Night Raw when they went to show it, I couldn't tell if he was saying something maybe. Hard to say. But nevertheless, he did kind of do like a head-to-head, kind of like an acknowledgement, and he shook his hand, raised Cody's hand in victory, which, gotta say, I don't think I've ever seen Brock Lesnar do that, which was simultaneously intimidating because I'm like, oh, holy shit, what's he going to do? Because, well, as we know, Brock's been known to go off script before. And then once you saw that, we're like, oh, hey, he must really like Cody Rhodes.
At this stage, and I can't take credit for this, shout out to Walt Ball for this one. Brock has now turned into this current time period's Undertaker.
Okay.
And this is what it means by this. And like I say, shout out to Walt. He literally had this nailed perfectly. At this stage, Brock is the litmus test to go through if you're going to be the next superstar to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And I understand the sides of the coin here with Cody Rhodes. Cody left WWE way back when.
Yep.
He worked the indies. He reinvented himself. He started All Elite Wrestling.
Yep.
He was a main eventer there. But the last time the WWE Universe saw him as a WWE performer, he was a mid-carder.
It was Stardust.
Right.
In a role in which he started to try and make something of it, but then just didn't care by the end of it.
So when he has been back now, he's been reinventing himself for the WWE audience. And I think a lot of times people forget about this.
Well, and I don't even necessarily think it's fully, reinventing himself. It's reintroducing himself.
That's a better term, yeah. Okay.
Because he, us, the indie viewer, and us who got to see him in person on an indie show here locally, we've seen this version of Cody from the New Japan shows and the ROH shows, and when he was with the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club, and then all the stuff leading to All In and AEW and everything. Like, we've seen this. We've been experiencing this since he left WWE in 2015, 2016, whatever it was. You know, but for the folks who just strictly watch WWE main roster and nothing else, they might not have a clue what happened and what went on. So when he shows up, sure, there's going to be a lot of folks who go, oh, that's the dude who was, you know, okay, had a couple of good runs before, you know, dashing Cody Rhodes and all the other stuff when he was Intercontinental Champion, you know, and then there was the Stardust thing, which he tried to make chicken salad out of chicken shit with, but it didn't really work.
Right.
Why should I care about him? Why are we giving him the main feature? And it's kind of like, hey, he's already proven himself to, I'll be generous, half the audience. It's that other half of the audience or that other quarter of the audience, because let's face it, you're never going to get everybody fully on board ever, you know, but it's that other percentage of the audience that you got to go, hey, listen, I'm not the same guy you saw last time. I've learned. I've grown. I'm different.
Yeah, and I think going in there with Brock, who has also grown and changed in his ways.
Yeah, he has.
He has become now a very featured member of the locker room, so to speak, that he is in that position where The Undertaker was.
I mean, let's not forget a couple of years ago when Moxley had left WWE, he told on a podcast about his experience trying to work with Brock for their match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And just how much of a pain that was. And now with this, you got fun-loving Brock, you got cowboy Brock, you got I'm going to kick your ass Brock, and it's not the Brock, you know, Brock has arguably worked more days and more events in the last 2 years than he's worked probably the last 10 combined.
Well, he's having fun.
Oh, he is.
I mean, that's the growth in him now, and that's where he, I think, can see where he needs to be that person in the locker room, that he needs to accept that, yeah, he's a superstar that doesn't need a belt. He's
an attraction.
He's an attraction. But his presence and his vote really matters, because if he thinks somebody's ready to go to the next level, he's going to put him over.
Well, and I like the thing somebody else pointed out on Reddit, and I can't take credit for this, but somebody pointed out on Reddit that this was Brock's way of getting Cody ready for Roman.
Oh, absolutely.
Because how many times has Brock faced Roman? It's got to be upwards of 10 times now.
Sure.
But this is Brock's way of, hey, you really want to beat Roman? Let me sharpen the knife for you.
Well, that's the whole thing that Cody's story is now, is Cody's redemption arc to get back to Roman. Almost in the sense of Rocky, if you want to go to a movie comparison. With it. It's one of those situations where he was supposed to get the big win. He didn't. He has to work his way back to it. So that being said, Brock putting him over, giving him the handshake moment, that is the biggest cosign he can give in his own way, and that gets Cody ready to go on to the next challenge. Wherever that's going to be between here and Roman is still up in the air. But in the meantime, they finished their story. They told a fantastic match and really drove home the point that Cody's ready for that next level. Can't speak more highly about it. This was my favorite match of the night.
Oh, yeah. This is one of mine, too. Yeah. Next up was the 25-man Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal. And you had in this matchup LA Knight.
Yeah.
Apollo Crews, J.D. McDonough, Rick Boogs Otis, Ivar, Eric, excuse me, Shinsuke Nakamura, Tommaso Ciampa, Cameron Grimes, to the
moon!
Austin Theory, Santos Escobar, Giovanni Vinci, and Ludwig Kaiser, Ridge Holland, Butch, Matt Riddle, Omos, The Miz, Grayson Waller, Karrion Kross, Chad Gable, Bronson Reed, AJ Styles, and Sheamus. And your last four during this battle royal, because this was a pretty good battle royal, I gotta say, for not having high expectations of this. Good battle royal. Your final four was Bronson Reed, AJ Styles, and Sheamus, and then obviously with LA Knight, and then LA Knight emerged victorious by last eliminating Sheamus to win the Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal.
Yeah. This whole match was centered around getting LA Knight to the next level. This was a stepping stone. We all knew this, but they still told some great stories in this. I love the team up of Grayson Waller and The Miz.
God almighty, I want them to team up and do a series with somebody, and just the promos would be incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'm all in about that. Omos came out, and I thought they put him over very well.
He did very good, yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, it's all about LA Knight.
Yep.
And getting him into one of two positions. I know that we have long talked about him versus Austin Theory for the U.S. title. And I think if he stays on SmackDown, that is a possibility.
Oh, I fully see that happening.
But something came to my attention last night that I said, well, maybe he's going to get another title.
Okay.
Hear me out on this, because I know we're going to talk about this superstar a little very shortly.
Sure.
Gunther
Yep.
is only a few weeks away from breaking the Honky Tonk Man's all-time record for the Intercontinental title.
Right.
As it stands right now, he's in a feud with Chad Gable.
Yes. Well, he's got a matchup coming. We don't know when.
Right, but they just wrestled.
Right. There was the fatal four-way. Chad Gable won. He's now the number one contender for the IC belt.
Right. If WWE wanted to really pull something quick, and they decided to move LA Knight to Raw, how big of a moment would it be if LA Knight's the one to beat Gunther?
That'd be a hell of a moment for him.
Yeah. Nothing.
I'm all right with that.
Nothing against Austin Theory.
No.
Because I think he, as an LA Knight, is the next in line for a mid-card title.
Yeah.
So whichever champion drops it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how big would a moment be if LA Knight is the one to defeat Gunther?
That's a huge moment for LA Knight because he's not beating Roman. Sorry. I don't see him beating Seth just because they want to establish that belt and give it some credibility. So that's why I don't think Seth is going to lose it here anytime soon.
Right.
Sure he could beat Austin Theory, but that's not really going to mean much. Hey, he won the United States Championship. Theory's run hasn't exactly been that memorable, to be honest. And now, admittedly, I don't get to watch every minute from bell to bell of SmackDown every week, but I couldn't tell you what he's been doing lately since WrestleMania. So could he beat Austin Theory for the U.S. title? Yes. It doesn't mean that much. Not really. But like you said, we saw him appear on Monday Night Raw, and I know some people are like, well, why is a SmackDown superstar appearing on Raw? Only Raw's superstars are supposed to be on Raw. Listen, the dude just won a Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal and was getting a photo op done. That's all the explanation you need. They ran a promo for Slim Jim after this using the classic Macho Man Randy Savage footage, and they had Bianca Belair and LA Knight in the commercial, which, holy shit, didn't realize that hearing Macho Man go, step into a Slim Jim, and then you just hear LA Knight go, yeah, afterwards. That's a hell of a combo. My God.
Oh, it works.
It works, but that's why he was on Raw, so that makes all the sense in the world. But no, if you want to give him a major moment and a major boost, not that he needs it. Christ, he's a reporter.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Reportedly, he's number one in sales for merchandise in the company over Roman and Cody and everybody else. But that's a huge moment for him. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about it, too. It's a big moment, and this match was supposed to get him to that next level. And they did do a setup with him and The Miz on Monday night.
Yeah,
which,
they did.
Listen, that's a new talk forever.
Yeah, it is.
So I am perfectly fine with that. And if it leads to a quick program in the meantime, while Gunther defeats Gable for breaking the record, sure. But I think before Survivor Series, LA Knight's going to have a mid-card title.
I think so.
And I think, like I say, if we want to do locks and leaps, the lock is him against Austin Theory.
Yeah.
Because Theory hasn't been doing anything, but he's been doing a great character.
Yeah, he has.
As just being a heel.
I'll give him credit. The character is good. It's just in terms of the memorable stuff he's been doing. And part of it could just be the fact that he's on SmackDown, and it's pretty much all bloodline stuff, and everything else kind of falls by the wayside, at least from the way I see it. So that's not on him. It's just I don't know much of what he's been doing.
Exactly. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm just going to put that on the ether right now. LA Knight could be your next Intercontinental Champion.
Could be.
Heard it here first.
Next up was an MMA rules match between Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, and you had Shayna Baszler defeat Ronda Rousey by technical submission in 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Arguably the worst match of the night.
Not arguably for me, it was the worst match of the night.
Well, the one thing that fans need to realize, and this is something that we've discussed here on the ODPH and 607 TWS, anytime you try doing an MMA style match in the world of pro wrestling, it just doesn't come off well. It doesn't. even when you have Shayna Baszler and Ronda trying to do that, and I will say we did not hear that this was MMA style until what, day of the show?
Yes.
So
yeah, I think we talked last week that like we wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. But yeah, no, it wasn't until the day of, and probably maybe not until pre-show, that they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this is going to be an MMA rules match.
Yeah. So that being said, their chemistry was off. I know Shayna took a shot about mid-match.
Yeah, she got a shiner.
Yeah, they're really connected. So she really got busted open in the fight there. But we knew this was going to be Shayna's to win. Ronda is gone, arguably for good.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. But I think looking back at her run, it did what it needed to do. It elevated the spotlight onto the WWE Women's Division.
Yeah.
Her run as a character, debatable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying Hall of Fame.
No.
By any stretch, but
no. I mean, if it happens, I'm not going to sit there and kind of argue and go, well, she should be. I'll be like, yeah, okay, sure. But like, I'm not sitting there going in 5 years or whatever it is, the criteria for getting in the Hall of Fame, going, she needs to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Like if it happens, yeah, okay, sure.
I could see it happening just for the impact she made.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she
that's what it'll be more for than in-ring stuff, for sure.
Right, but this match is a very forgettable swan song.
Oh, it is. This is the one match that, like, if you haven't seen the show yet, you know, you can certainly get up and, you know, get some food or go to the bathroom. You won't miss anything. My biggest issues with this was, one, nothing against the referee, but if you're going to because the referee came out, he goes, oh, this isn't a WWE sanctioned event. You know, wrestling rules don't apply. There's no rope breaks. There's no countouts. There's no yada yada. Okay, nothing against him. And I realized there was a UFC event the same night, but there's enough MMA referees in the world. Pay one for a night to show up just for this, to kind of give it some legitimacy. You know, it doesn't have to be a Herb Dean or any of the other, you know, well-known, you know the face MMA refs, but just somebody who, like, and you can even throw it up on the screen. Oh, you know, this ref has been with Bellator, you know, Strikeforce and UFC. Like, oh, okay, this is an actual MMA ref. You know, but so you get the match, and like we said when we cover UFC, Octagon rust is a thing. You can tell. Yes, you know, Shayna Baszler is obviously the submission magician, and Ronda Rousey's known for the armbar and all of her technical prowess. But you can tell these two haven't done an actual MMA match in quite some time. Ronda's last official mixed martial arts match was against Amanda Nunes on December 30th, 2016. And Shayna's was against Reina Muirira for a Deep Jewels 15 event on February 25th, 2017. It showed, and just from the go, this thing never had its footing for me. That it's an MMA match, you know, so it's MMA rules, but then you play in a spot where they both fall out of the ring onto the ground outside of the wrestling ring, and and they just like get up and they walk back in. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? So personally for me, worst match of the night, don't ever do this match again.
I don't think they're going to.
There was nothing in this that I said, you know what? It wasn't great, but there's some potential there. Maybe if you tweak a few things and you change a few things, and maybe, you know, just something with the opponents didn't mesh, you know, you might have something in the future. No, there's just nothing about this that I want to see this again.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to skip past this. I think the only thing that it needed to do, and it did, was get Baszler, you know, reestablished as the badass that she is.
Yeah, because Ronda kept trying to submit Shayna during the match, and Shayna having trained with Ronda, because they brought that up, you know, a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with how much Shayna had trained with Ronda, Shayna knew how to counter Ronda's submissions.
So I think this is just going to elevate her stock and for an eventual run at Rhea Ripley, which I'm all for.
Next up was a singles matchup for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, and as we alluded to, Gunther defeated Drew McIntyre via pinfall in 13 minutes and 40 seconds.
Great match.
Yes.
Did what it needed to do. I mean, Gunther and Drew, we knew was going to be a great match to begin with. Both of them have wrestled each other now enough times that they know how to get some good chemistry going. And it did what it did. I mean, I'm not saying this is a forgettable match, but there really wasn't anything new added to their story.
It was standard.
Yeah.
You know, it was hard hitting. You know, you potentially lost a few teeth watching it, you know.
Oh, sure.
Throughout it, but nothing really to write home about. So it was fine.
Yeah.
Next up was a singles matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship where you had Seth freaking Rollins defeat Finn Balor via pinfall in 18 minutes and 30 seconds.
Great storytelling here.
Yes.
The whole thing with the Judgment Day, I think, is really, really starting to win a lot of the pop culture audience over. Mm-hmm. Not saying that it's Bloodline 2.0, but if you want to talk about compelling storylines that fans are talking about,
Yeah.
the Judgment Day has come out of nowhere and really started winning people over. That obviously a lot has to do with the skyrocketing superstardom of Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
But now the whole feud with Damian Priest winning Money in the Bank, Finn Balor trying to get the world title, Finn's paranoia getting the best of him,
Oh, yeah.
costing him the match because Damian was trying to help him. He doesn't believe him.
Well, that was the interesting thing. So Damian showed up, and everyone's like, oh, is he going to cash in? Oh, is he going to cash in? Oh, is he going to cash in? And he threw or slid, whatever it was, the Money in the Bank briefcase into the octagon, into the ring, and was like, here, telling Finn, here, use this. But Finn was misinterpreting it as like, I'm here, I'm going to cash in.
Yeah.
And you very audibly heard Finn go, no, that's plan B, stick to plan A.
Yeah.
And they're going back and forth arguing. Rhea and Dominic show up to cause some interference. And then Finn finally puts two and two together and goes to use the briefcase as a weapon against Seth. But Seth comes in and stomps him into the briefcase and knocks Finn out for the win. And I think for me, especially being a Finn Balor guy, Damian Priest's face after the match was kind of how I felt. I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, I understood what happened, and I'm all right with the outcome, and I'm just like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know. It's perfect. I mean, they did a really good job about setting that up and even carrying it into Monday Night Raw. So I'm not upset about it.
No.
I mean, I thought it was great because Seth keeping the title, I think, helps it.
Yes.
And for anybody who says they're not using Finn Balor right, he's in a featured storyline on TV. Mm-hmm. So as much as it would be cool to see him win, he doesn't need the belt. He's over enough.
No.
Just saying.
Next up was a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship where you had Asuka defending her belt against Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. And you had Bianca Belair emerge via pinfall in 20 minutes and 45 seconds to become your new WWE Women's Championship. Or champion, I should say.
Well, I will say this. Match, arguably the worst. Ending, arguably the best.
So for me, this was the second worst match of the night, because it seemed like the match just, again, never got its footing. I know you guys you and Rich on 607 TWS this week said that like the pacing was off and the timing was off. I agree with you 100% on that. It's just, I don't know what it is, but just the three of them never got their stuff together, in terms of just like hitting the moves and what they needed to do next. It felt like a train wreck, but I don't mean that in a bad way. It felt like it was kind of meant to be that way, which I was like, okay, there's a lot going on. There's the three competitors, the ending was great.
Oh yeah. Ending was great.
The ending was great, but everything in the build up to that and until, the last 4 or 5 minutes, the last 4 or 5 minutes were phenomenal, but like getting there was kind of rough.
I'm going to ask a question, and this might be a bold statement, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Since Charlotte Flair has been back from her recent hiatus, how many times has she wrestled?
I can look.
Okay.
Offhand, I don't know.
Because my argument is going to be where I guess this is going to be a bold statement. I think since she's returned, she hasn't been as crisp with her moves and working with some talent on the roster as she was prior to leaving. And I think this is more evident here in this match, in my opinion. I'm not saying Charlotte's a bad wrestler by any means.
Right.
But I'm thinking that she had been gone for so long that she's still not back into the swing of things.
Right. So she was on WrestleMania 39 Night 1 where Rhea defeated her. Her next appearance wouldn't be until June 23rd, 2023 on a Friday Night SmackDown where she defeated Lacey Evans. And I'm not counting live events.
Right.
But we're just counting televised stuff. So she did the one episode of SmackDown, Let's see. That's a super show, house show. The second matchup was on Friday Night SmackDown, July 21st, where she defeated Io Sky. House show. Friday Night SmackDown on June 28th, where she tagged with Bianca. House show. So, since she's come back in June, she's wrestled 4 times.
Okay.
Not counting house shows, which are a whole other thing.
All right. So even when we say house shows, so we'll say what?
Yeah.
16 times?
It's something like that, yeah.
I don't know. It's just maybe it's something I'm noticing. And like I say, I want to stress this. I'm not saying she's a bad wrestler by any means.
I think Charlotte is a good wrestler when it comes to singles competition.
Yeah.
And even tag team competition. I know she's done some tag team stuff, which has been fine. I think it's once you get into triple threat, fatal 4-way stuff where, it's kind of her relying on other folks and there's more parties involved. That's where it starts to fall apart for her, because I'm noticing more and more, and this is not a slight against Charlotte.
Oh, sure.
She's great as a singles wrestler. She's great as a tag team wrestler. But when it comes to triple threats and fatal 4-ways, it's just something always seems off when she's involved.
I think it almost comes off as like she's overpressing.
Yes.
And I think that showed up here. Like I say, there was just something off, and I don't mean to be so critical about her, but it just kind of seemed like after the very off moonsault from the top rope, it just never seemed like they were back on the same pace.
Right.
And I don't know why, and you might be onto something with the triple threat, but I can't stress enough. I'm not saying she's a bad wrestler.
Neither am I.
She's one of the best in the world. But in this circumstance, it just didn't click for whatever reason. And it showed just because everybody would just, it was like a domino effect.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing against her either. She's not my cup of tea. She's not my favorite women's wrestler of all time, but I respect the hell out of her.
Oh, yeah.
It's just something, there's just something about it. I don't know.
But then we get to the finish.
Yeah, then we get to the finish. So Bianca Belair emerged victorious. Leg was quote unquote injured. Mm-hmm. And I know Corey Graves brought up, hopefully we don't have a Finn Balor type situation, where she has to relinquish, not long after she wins the thing. Well, we didn't have to worry about that because Io Sky's music hit, and she comes bolting out of the back like she's running away from a fire.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Comes there, gives Bayley the briefcase. Bayley attacks Charlotte and Asuka, taking them out. Goes into the ring, tries to attack, Bianca. Bianca gets the one up on her. Io gets a hold of the briefcase, attacks Bianca, drops her, hands the briefcase to the ref, and you can hear Io screaming, cash it in. And the ref, I love it when the ref visibly understands and doesn't do the, what? Mm-hmm. Huh? What are you talking? Like I know Mike Chioda did it, at least, I think with, who was it? Corey Graves' wife. I'm blanking on the name.
Carmella.
I know Mike Chioda did it with Carmella a couple of years ago, where it's like she was speaking a foreign language, and he was like, "What? What are you talking?" I just hate when that happens. But no, the ref understood the assignment, gave the briefcase, rang the bell, and in 8 seconds, Io Sky pinned Bianca Belair to become your new WWE Women's Champion.
Love this moment.
This was great.
This is perfect. This is how Money in the Bank cash-in should be.
Yes, and as was mentioned by Corey Graves on the broadcast, women's Money in the Bank cash-ins still 100%.
Yeah. So it definitely set up a great story. I was surprised to see Bayley helping her.
So was I.
As much, but you know what? It was a cool moment to see Dakota Kai came out through the crowd. Obviously, she's been recouping from her injuries.
Yep.
So it was a cool moment to see, and we also forgot about this fact too.
Yeah.
It's been 1 year since Damage Control debuted.
Yeah, talk about a hell of a year where you had Bayley return last year at SummerSlam. Roughly 1 year. I think it was a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Regardless. But you had Bayley return from her injury at SummerSlam last year after, ironically, the Bianca Belair match.
Yeah.
And came out and was like, oh, hey, I didn't come alone, and brought Io Sky, who at the time, was on NXT, but rumors and reports were saying that she was going to go back home to Japan. Mm-hmm. And then also brought out Dakota Kai, who had been let go during a batch of releases.
Yeah.
So one of the first big shocks during the Triple H booking era. Excited the hell out of me to see them back because Io Sky is one of the best women's wrestlers on that roster. Don't believe me? Go watch the women's War Game from a couple years ago.
War Games.
Yeah, her on the top of the cage with the garbage can covering her body as protective shielding.
Yeah.
That's all I need to say. And Dakota Kai's great. I mean, yeah, she's got the injury thing, which sucks, but she's still great.
When she's in the ring, she's great.
Absolutely. But no, you think about the run they've had in 1 year where they've gone from, hey, we're just this faction debuting to, yeah, we got a world title.
Mm-hmm. It was perfect booking for that. Crowd exploded. It was the big memory moment that everybody's going to take away from this one.
And then in your main event, you had Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman in his corner taking on Jey Uso in tribal combat, basically an anything goes match, for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship and recognition of tribal chief of the Anoa'i family. And you had Roman Reigns emerge victorious, pinning Jey Uso in 36 minutes and 5 seconds to retain his undisputed championship and remain the tribal chief. Although, of course, as is usual with a Roman Reigns match, there were some shenanigans in the match.
Shenanigans, but the match itself did what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not sold on the Bloodline storyline, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I really don't at this stage.
Yeah.
And I know there was a lot of fans very angry that Jey Uso did not win.
For like the third time this year.
Mm-hmm. But let's
this year.
But let's put this into context. And I know we touched upon this a little bit with 607 TWS. When you have a match give you that much of an emotional reaction,
Yep.
it's doing its job with the storyline.
Oh, yeah. I remember for me, after Cody lost at WrestleMania, I went on social media and did like I usually do after the Patriots had lost the Super Bowl. You know, against the Giants twice and against the Eagles. You know, I went and started unfollowing pages because I just didn't want to see it. Because I knew they were going to boast about it and all this stuff. And I was snoozing WWE on Facebook for 30 days. And I was snoozing the Fox page for WWE for 30 days. That they'd got me. And I was in that same place. And I'm like, motherfucker, I was pissed off. I got up the next day and Liz wasn't able to make this second night of WrestleMania. She goes, oh, what happened? I'm like, listen, I might not even watch Raw tonight. I'm that fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
They got me, but with this, I'm like, ooh, this is a good twist because when it comes to siblings, anyone who has a sibling and anyone who's ever been jealous of a sibling on a certain level can understand this.
Mm-hmm. Because the ending came with one Jimmy Uso pulling his brother out of the ring, breaking up the pin, and leaving him for Roman.
And if I remember right, never really mentioned up until this point how he felt about the whole thing. Never made an appearance, never stood by his brother's side, despite the fact they're both...
Well, he was injured.
Well, he was injured. You know, never by his brother's side, despite being both out of the bloodline, you know, but showing up and making his feelings felt. Now, some people are like, well, how can he go back to Roman after everything? He might not.
Yeah.
He might just be like, hey, listen, Roman's doing what he's doing. This is between brothers. Roman's got nothing to do with this.
One thing I've been saying for a while, and I think now it's coming closer to fruition, is when we get to Survivor Series, we're either going to have one or two matches.
Yeah.
We are going to have a Bloodline Civil War. So, like, there's no question about that. But is it going to be a triple threat or fatal four-way?
Fatal four-way.
See, that's the question I got now, because you might have that, and I think that completely does the break with Solo Sikoa and Roman.
Well, because what did I say was going to happen last week that ended up happening? Now, admittedly, I had to watch this match twice because I was at the Yankee game that day. I had gotten up at 5 a.m., and by the time this match got over, had been up for 19 hours at that point. So, admittedly, when this was on live, I was nodding in and out of this match, but I had to watch it back because I missed it the first time. But what happened that I said would happen? There would be a moment where Solo would go to help Roman, and would get in the way, and Roman would hit him. And it happened. And you saw the pissed off look on Solo's face like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you. He's done this at least twice, maybe 3 times now. I know it happened the last pay-per-view. I know it happened this one. Might have been 3 times. You know, once is an accident, 2 is on purpose, 3 times, well, you just hate me. You know, or whatever the saying is. But no, this is going to come back to, you know, blow up in Roman's face. We'll see what happens. Rumors and reports are Roman was injured in some sort of capacity.
Heard something about that.
During this match, we have not heard anything of what it is or what it could be or if it's true or not. We'll wait and see. He is scheduled to be on SmackDown this coming Friday, so maybe they'll say something there. But regardless, this match was awesome. And as for what happens with Jimmy and Jay, I'm here for it. I've got a brother. I have certainly had my disagreements with my brother, and I've even been jealous of my brother at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
So on the level, I understand this. I get this. Have I ever wanted to kick my brother's ass in front of 17,000 people, 20,000 people? Well, no.
Yeah.
But we've certainly come to blows over the years. Anyone with a sibling, if you're sitting there going, well, we've never fought. You're lying.
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying to yourself. You understand on some level what this is about.
Exactly. No, they did a great time setting things up in motion, and Jimmy Uso's true intentions.
Yeah.
We'll find out this week, but it's all building towards enhancing the storyline. And I think for everybody that is freaking out that Jay didn't win, okay,
he's still a main eventer.
He's still a main eventer. He's still going to be in that conversation for WrestleMania,
Right.
and he might not get the world title now,
but it does set up a singles matchup between him and his brother, which in their entire run of WWE, which has been going for over 10 years now, would you have ever expected to see those two go up against each other? No. They've literally been a tag team forever.
Right.
Obviously, they've done some singles work when one's out for one reason or another. But that never hey, they're going to go up against each other. So this is one of those never thought I would have seen it moments.
Right, and they've been trying to get this going behind the scenes for a while.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm happy for him. I'm happy it elevated everybody up again. And the storyline is far from over because as in the post-media scrum, Paul Heyman said, we're in the bottom of the third.
Bottom of the third.
So who knows where we're going with this?
Well, and if I remember right, Roman said we're in the third inning back at WrestleMania, so it's been 6 months where you've only moved a half inning. Other team who's batting, you suck.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just ultimately leading to the WrestleMania moment with him and Cody.
Yeah, no, it will.
And I think that will be the time that we have the belt change this year.
I think Cody alluded to that a little bit with his promo on Monday Night Raw before he got interrupted in the opening segment.
Oh, sure.
Because if you go back and you listen to that and you kind of peel back the layers on the onion a little bit, I think Cody was alluding to that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great thing to set up for, and it's a great problem for WWE to have because overall they had another great PLE.
Yeah.
They have a lot of storylines coming from this.
They do.
They started building up a little bit on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, of course, as we mentioned, you've got Chad Gable who's going to be facing Gunther at some point. Don't know if it's a premium live event or a future episode of Raw. Looks like Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be the next person to take on Seth Rollins.
Love this.
Oh.
About time. Shinsuke has been just kind of...
little telegraphed.
Somewhere, but yeah.
But it was exciting to see. And it was, when he offered, because it was supposed to be Seth, Cody, and Sammy in the main event tagging against Judgment Day. And then JD McDonough, for reasons, took out Sammy. Shinsuke Nakamura offered up. He's like, hey, I'll help you out. And then I know Richard, you pointed it out that that was an awfully awkward look he threw at Seth after that whole segment. And I'm like, yeah, that was a little. And then you go and watch. So it's okay, I was watching for something. I was anticipating something. And then you get to the end of the match where, Sammy comes in for the save and it's Sammy, Seth, Cody, and Shinsuke in the ring. And Sammy, Cody, and Seth are doing the typical, yeah, we're the faces. We just won. We're standing up at the three corners of the wrestling ring. And Shinsuke's just standing there. And Shinsuke's just watching. And I'm like, oh, he's going to do it. Because you would have figured, oh, if he's celebrating, he's staying face, he would have celebrated with him. No, he was picking his moment.
Mm-hmm. And hit Seth with a Kinshasa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I say, I get excited talking about it, so I just got to remember I got to slow it down for that. But that move really kicked off a new feud, which Seth needs.
Yeah.
Cody is up in the air where he's going next.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I know they kind of teased maybe something with Seth, but they squashed the beef by the end of the night.
Well, I think they want to keep that rumor going.
Yeah.
So when he wins the Royal Rumble,
yeah,
people are not going to remember that he's ultimately going to challenge Roman.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep that teased, I think is brilliant. I would not doubt, though, that he does something in the meantime, maybe not with Gunther, because I don't think he's going to win another belt in between. But I could see him going with somebody on the mid-card, maybe even with the Damian Priest, just a one-on-one thing.
Yeah, I could see it.
I could see just something in the meantime.
Dominic, because Dominic's been a thorn in his side the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I could see him having something with the Judgment Day just to buy some time.
Yeah.
And it would make a lot of sense to do because coming off the heels of SummerSlam, there's a lot of storylines that we're going to have to wait to see play out. Friday Night SmackDown just became must-watch to find out what's going on with the Bloodline.
Yeah.
And then we go from here. So I guess
about a little less than a month until Payback, which is September 2nd in Pittsburgh.
Yes. So, and that weekend's going to be a little crazy if you're a wrestling fan, too. Mm-hmm. So WWE is definitely going to want to stack that show up, and who knows what's going to happen after that. In the meantime, though, hit us up on the hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts about WWE SummerSlam and the Monday Night Raw after? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? Let's talk about it. And if you're looking for more pro wrestling content, make sure to check out 607 TWS, the wrestling show on your favorite podcast player. The new episode is up right now, so we definitely want to talk some pro wrestling with you. That being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And since we last recorded, the NFL preseason is in full effect.
Yeah, it is.
The first game has been played between the Jets and Cleveland.
To those of you already doing fantasy football drafts, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I've heard stories and people have told me that they've already done fantasy football drafts. And I'm like, why? Did you not see the first day of training camp where like 4 or 5 guys went down with injuries? Mm-hmm. Some of them for potentially all of this year.
Yeah.
Why?
Some people are just craving football.
Yeah.
And I can understand it. Like, listen, as a fan, I can't wait for the season to kick off. And rest assured, folks, with how crazy the schedules have been, we will still be doing our 2-part NFL preview episode very, very soon, closer to the season with Rich from 3FN swinging by. So we're not going to be diving into that just yet, but I think it just reflects on this is a very quiet period in sports right now.
Sure.
Let's face it, Major League Baseball is on the second half. Trade deadline has came and gone. It's now the push to the playoffs. Hockey and basketball are definitely in their off season. Mm-hmm. The only thing going on is the summer league games for the NBA out in Vegas, or they were.
Yeah.
So there really is not a lot happening in the sports world per se.
Yeah.
So anytime we get football going again, and there's just something about football in August that gets the blood going a little bit because you know it's coming. And it's like it's almost like when it gets to December 1st.
Yeah.
And you know Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that same vein.
And yes, we said December 1st, not November 1st, like some of you goddamn heathens.
Pad's ready. Pad's ready for this.
I'm sorry. Like, I enjoy the Thanksgiving season, and for me personally, I like to have that little month for Thanksgiving. Christmas, you can have your time when it hits December.
Yes.
Or for me, it's the day after Thanksgiving.
I'm with you on that. I fully agree with you. Thanksgiving is an overlooked holiday.
Yes.
Much like the preseason for the most part, but it's still noteworthy to break down because there are some storylines that are happening right now that we definitely want to mention, almost like in a one-shot format.
Sure.
So let's talk about it, Pat.
So the first one we're going to mention is kind of like a 2-part story. First of which is you've got with the New Orleans Saints, Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended the first 3 games of the NFL season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. And according to reports, free agent running back Kareem Hunt is going to sign with the New Orleans Saints pending a physical.
Good move by the Saints. Obviously, if you got to replace Kamara, Kareem Hunt is a good replacement.
It's not bad.
Considering the market right now, I think that's very solid.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had been in Cleveland the past couple of years, but Nick Chubb is still the main running back in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So if he wants to make a chance trying to start again, I think New Orleans is a safe spot for him to land and see, because the expectations, let's face it, are low.
Well, and especially just with the way injuries go. New Orleans, very high-powered offensive team. We'll see what happens with this year with new coach and all that other stuff. But it's not bad to be on a team, even if you might not get as many cracks as you did, at the pigskin, the first couple of games. Something might happen. You might break out and you might start getting more touches. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Next up, we got to mention is another running back who's still a free agent. Dalvin Cook is still a free agent. Obviously, he's been with the Minnesota Vikings the last couple of years. Set like 1,000 yards rushing the last 4 years consecutively, but for whatever reason, Minnesota decided to get rid of him. He's a free agent. Not really sure where he's going to end up quite yet, but where do you think he's going to end up?
This is a really good question. And to be honest, I think he winds up in the AFC East somewhere.
I agree.
I think that's probably the safest landing spot. Had the Giants not locked up Saquon Barkley, that's where I thought he was going.
Yeah, I could have seen it.
But I truly think that there's 3 teams legitimately that want him on the roster.
Okay.
I think the Jets are first and foremost.
Yeah.
With Breece Hall still not back yet. He's still on the PUP list.
Yeah, timetable to be determined.
Right. I know the head coach, Robert Saleh, is saying that, according to ESPN.com, that he's expected to begin practicing in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So,
right, and the thing we got to remember, too, is there's only 3 weeks of preseason, not the 4 everyone's so accustomed to for years and years and years. So the runway on this for takeoff is a little short.
Right. So I think that if they can get Dalvin Cook in there, who is an established starting back, I think that helps out tremendously.
Yeah.
And I think that'll take some pressure off Aaron Rodgers, who, let's face it, hasn't had a solid running game in Green Bay since, I'm on Green?
Yeah, I would say since the George H.W. Bush administration.
Quite possibly. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But that's just goes to show you. I mean, like I say.
And apologies if that's the wrong presidential administration. I'm not looking it up.
Yeah, that's the one situation with Green Bay is they haven't been known for their running backs.
No.
And like I say, I'm on Green, was one that is played with Aaron Rodgers. That's the one that stuck out most to me. Ryan Grant is another one too.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's not impactful enough that it really sticks out.
Right.
So for him to have Dalvin Cook there, I think would help, especially if they want to try establishing that the Jets are the real deal on the offensive side of the ball. We know their defense is very, very good. They're very young.
Yeah.
But they're in the right direction. They'll help them win games this season.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, honestly, they have to get some spark on that offense. And Aaron Rodgers at this stage in the game is not exactly the Aaron Rodgers of old.
It's a real short window.
Especially when it looks like him in the New York media. I mean, that's going to be a very combustible situation too.
It's going to be a good thing to live in New York and be able to pick up the New York Post.
Yeah, it'll be fun after game days.
But
until then, like I say, the running back position is going to be something that I think the Jets need to address. I think they really need to make a play for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
And really need to lock it up soon. Because the only other spot that I think he has a real legitimate spot to land is Miami.
Okay.
And I know that they're retooling their offense a little bit, and if they can get him there, it also goes if Tua's back to being 100%.
Right, and I agree with you on the Miami thing just because, listen, Tua's a good quarterback, but he can only throw the ball so many times. He can't throw it 900 times a game. And yeah, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are good, but you need something else to balance that off of, or else the other opposing defenses are just never going to rush, expect a run, and they're just going to sit in pass protection the entire time. But listen, that's nothing against Raheem Mostert, who is their listed number 1 running back right now. He's not Dalvin Cook. He's fine. He's serviceable, but he's not Dalvin Cook. I agree with you on the Miami thing. Part of me holds out hope, New England, because, we've only got Ramondre Stevenson as a running back. And Ramondre's good, but, can always use that 1-2 punch when it comes to running backs. The other one I can legitimately see in taking my, that's my fan pick. I'd love to see Dalvin Cook on New England. The one I could also see is Indianapolis right now. Because you've got the Indianapolis Colts who've got Jonathan Taylor and his disputes with the ownership in the front office. Will he play? Won't he play? yet to be determined. You've got, their other quarter, listed. Zach Moss is one of their other running backs. He's listed as questionable. You've got Deion Jackson's their third string listed. You got Kenyon Drake, who's their fourth string listed. I think there's another guy they got who's injured and won't even be able to play this year. So right now they don't have a legitimate rushing running back here. So I could see it happening there.
Indianapolis is the wild card because of the Jonathan Taylor situation.
Yep.
So that could be a landing spot. I mean, that is kind of developing as we've been in between episodes. So we'll have to wait to see. I was actually going to say I think Buffalo could be another long shot.
Yeah.
I don't think Cook winds up there, but it's a long shot. But I will say this. The Bills have his brother on roster, James Cook.
Yep.
And after that, it's Damian Harris and Latavius Murray.
Mm-hmm.
If the Bills are serious about getting a running game they're putting a lot of faith in James Cook, who struggled over his first year there.
Buffalo running backs have struggled like the last 3 years.
Because they've never put an emphasis on the offensive line until now.
Except for like 2-3 games a season when they crack 100 yards.
Well, that's the whole thing because, like I say, they have never addressed the offensive line to where it needs to be. But obviously going and getting their big prize free agent from Dallas, which I know Dre Driven is yelling right now at the wherever he's listening to us on. But when we got McGovern in, that was a huge help, Connor McGovern. And their draft pick too, which I keep saying is just a matter of time till Osiris Torrance is in the starting lineup.
Right.
They do have the key elements to get that line built. I just don't know if they're serious about doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean. Like you addressed it, but you need to commit to it. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the question is, can this line really commit and lock in?
Right. The other thing, too, is you picked up Damian Harris from the New England Patriots in the offseason, which he's a decent running back. Is he a star running back? Is he the feature running back? Not really. I mean, he's got 2,094 yards rushing in his career with 20 touchdowns over the course of his 4 years playing, 15 of them coming in 2021, which, of course, was Mac Jones' rookie year. So you expect that with a rookie quarterback, that the running back's going to get a bunch of touches. And then for receiving, he's got 281 yards receiving with no touchdowns.
Like I say, if they want to do the upgrade there, Cook would be great for it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get him, though.
I think if they were going to get him, it would have happened already. Just with the brother connection, and you know how much brothers talk, and they stay in connection, and text messages and Facebook Messenger and all that. I think if Buffalo were going to get him, it would have happened already.
I do too. I mean, it's still a long shot. He might want to go ring over paycheck.
Yeah.
But I think now the Indianapolis situation does favor him more than anybody.
Yeah.
Because Indianapolis has a rookie quarterback, albeit they're having a hell of a QB battle right now.
Hey, put some respect on Minshew Mania. Gardner Minshew's there too.
Yeah, like I say, it's not solidified who's the number one quarterback in Indianapolis, but if you have a rookie quarterback that winds up winning, you're going to want to have a stable running back behind him.
It helps.
And if Jonathan Taylor is out for reasons,
I'm
saying Cook is not a bad replacement for him. So I think he'll be the biggest domino to fall that hasn't fell yet. Sorry. I just get so tied up because I'm so excited to talk football. But I know Ezekiel Elliott is still out there.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott's still a free agent. Not really sure where he could end up. He could end up back with Dallas.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to take some humble pie.
Yeah.
He's not the Ezekiel Elliott of old.
I know that's another one I wouldn't necessarily mind seeing in New England. I know when he went to visit New England, they had a very good meeting with him. I know he was spotted as having either lunch or dinner. I don't remember which one it was, but he had lunch or dinner, some sort of meal with Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. So he was out with the quarterback. I
think it'd be good if he wound up there, to be honest. I think that's a very solid landing spot for him.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. He's obviously not the Ezekiel Elliott of old, but you've got Ramondre Stevenson up there, so he doesn't need to be. You can figure out which one's going to be the feature back, which one's going to be we're 3-4 yards from getting a first down or 3-4 yards from getting a touchdown. Pound it in there.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something up there to give Max some help.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see how the dominoes fall there. But like I say, for all the free agents, that's really taking up the most time.
Yeah. And then one free agent who is no longer a free agent, signed with a team, was one of the most coveted free agents on the market. That would be wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, who signed a 2-year, $26 million deal with the Tennessee Titans, $9.8 million in change signing bonus. He's got an average salary of $13 million, $10.98 million guaranteed at signing. There is a potential out and this is according to Spotrac.com. There is a potential out after the 2024 season, 1 year, $12 million. There would be $7.8 million in dead cap space for the Tennessee Titans. So this could be a whole trial period, one and done, and bye, see you later. We'll see what happens though. Like I mentioned, there's the 10.98 guaranteed. He's got a per game active bonus of $60,000. He's got a roster bonus of $4.46 million. That is on the second league day of 2024. And then in the 2025 through 2027 years are automatically void. And then there is an annual reception incentives, non-cumulative. He gets $250,000 if he gets 65 catches. 75 catches, he earns $500,000. 85 catches, he earns $750,000. And if he hits 95 catches, he gets $1 million in bonus. Receiving, kind of breaks down the same. 750 receiving yards, he gets $250,000. 850 receiving yards, he gets $500,000. 950 yards, he gets $750,000. And then if he hits 1,050 yards, he gets $1 million. Touchdown incentives, again, breaks out the same. $250,000, $500,000, $750,000, and then $1 million. So 4 touchdowns, he gets $250,000. 6, he gets half. 8 touchdowns, he gets 3/4. And then if he gets 10 touchdowns, which good fucking luck with that quarterback, he gets $1 million.
You know, that's a great question you bring up. Who's his quarterback?
Oh, by the way, he's still got $21 million in dead cap space for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
I will look up who his current quarterback is because it's not anybody's. Isn't it Tannehill?
Yeah, it's still Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
So he went for the best money deal, in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
And listen, I'm not mad at him about this.
I mean, I'm miffed. I'm not mad. Yeah.
Well, it would have been nice to see him go to a contender, and I know New England, that would have been huge.
Oh, that'd have been amazing.
It would have been a big help.
I'd have been obnoxious for like an hour.
Mm-hmm. I think if he wound up in Buffalo, it would have been huge. I'm glad he didn't go to Kansas City.
Oh, my God.
I heard about that rumor.
So did I.
But him in Tennessee helps, and it hurts. Here's why I say it helps. You've got Derrick Henry, and yeah.
Pretty much.
That's all you got. Derrick
Henry's the starter. Second string is Tyjae Spears. Third string, Hassan Haskins. Fourth string, Jonathan Ward. For wide receivers, there's him. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Reggie Robertson Jr., Trayshawn Harrison, Treylon Burks, Chris Moore, Mason Kinsey. Stop me, folks, if you're drafting any of these guys on your fantasy football teams. Kieris Jackson, Kyle Phillips, Racy McMath, Colton Dowell, Gavin Holmes for tight ends. They got Chigoziem Akanu, Trayvon Wesco, Josh Weil, Elise Mack, and they don't have a fullback listed on their roster.
Right. It's the Derrick Henry show.
Yep.
And eventually, and not wishing this, I want to stress this. Running backs, with the amount of wear and tear he's taken, slow down very spontaneously.
Very quickly, too.
I mean, the years catch up to you.
I mean, hi, any defensive coordinators listening to this who are playing the Tennessee Titans this year, hi, I hope you're having a good day. Let me give you a little bit of help for the Tennessee Titans this year. Stack the box for Derrick Henry, double cover DeAndre Hopkins, boom, you're good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, legitimately.
Because do you honestly think Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, or any of the other wide receivers I mentioned are going to be that big of a threat?
No, I don't. I think Tennessee did the right move. But I think
I do too.
But I think this also hurts because you didn't address the biggest need, and that's your quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tannehill at this stage is serviceable. He's not great.
I'll say their other quarterbacks are Malik Willis is their second string quarterback, which he is going to be going into his second season.
Yeah, they've already given up.
Out of Liberty University.
In my opinion.
Liberty University. Yeah, 2023, he had 276 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He has played in his 2 seasons. He has played in 8 games. He's going into his second year, not his third.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Will Levis, he is going into his first season. He was drafted out of Kentucky. In this year's draft, he was the 33rd pick overall in the second round.
Yeah, he was the one that everybody thought was going to go a lot higher,
Yes.
the prototype, so to speak.
I'm listen, nothing against the kid, but like I'm having Daniel Jones vibes with like, is he good statistically? Sure, but he fucking played on Kentucky.
Yeah.
What is University of Kentucky known for?
Basketball.
Basketball. They're not known for football.
Right.
Hi, Daniel Jones and Duke, same thing. Duke is not known for football. Duke is known for basketball.
Right.
So the stats might look sexy as fuck when it comes to the college game, but it's fucking Kentucky.
And granted, they're not part of the big switch up that's happened. Pac-10, Big 10, everything 10.
R.I.P. Pac-12.
Yeah, which is a whole different ball of wax. But as it stands right now, I mean, what competition did he face? He has the physical prototype, but so did Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So has a countless amount of other players. Is it going to be enough to get DeAndre Hopkins the ball and really make this team a contender? That's the big X factor. And that's why I say, like, it hurts that they have not solidified who the number one is going to be and has proven that that's going to be able to get the ball out to Hopkins, take some pressure off Derrick Henry, and really move the ball.
Plus, you got a 35-year-old, he just turned 35-year-old, Ryan Tannehill, and who's going into his 11th season.
Yeah. So, I mean...
The arm don't get better as time goes on.
Exactly. So, it's going to be an interesting thing for Tennessee. I don't like the move for Hopkins, but I understand it.
Yeah.
He got the best money deal.
My advice to Tennessee Titans fans, I wouldn't get a DeAndre Hopkins jersey just for the sheer fact that he's got an out after this year.
Yeah, and depending on how things go. I mean, granted, we have never heard him being a disruptive teammate.
Carlos Correa tried this in Major League Baseball with the Minnesota Twins last year. He signed a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Twins with an opt-out after the first year because he bet on himself, and then it bit him in the ass, and he went back to Minnesota.
But like I say, in Hopkins' case, we've never heard about him being a bad teammate. I
No.
know, but the whole reason he left Houston was not him.
No,
That's a whole other ball of wax, which we don't need to get into.
we don't have the time to.
Right. But when he was in Arizona, he played very hard.
Yeah.
He was somebody that really carried that team on his back. Tennessee's got a superstar on their roster to help Derrick Henry. Just is it enough to get him over the hump?
No.
I mean, it might help him get that division,
It helps.
but not overall though. I mean, I'm not punching a Super Bowl ticket by any
No,
means.
I mean, Houston, they're not going to really be anything. Indianapolis, jury's out.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, I would think, makes improvements.
Theory,
We'll see.
yeah. But until then,
It's like we said with the NFC East a couple of years ago. Somebody's got to win that fucking division.
and I think Tennessee has the best chance to win by default. But I think it ends after that, unless Levis comes in and lights the world on fire, which I don't see. I'm sorry,
No, I don't either.
but we'll have to kind of see how it all breaks down after that. A lot of football stories,
Yeah.
surprisingly. And I know we're going into the first full week of preseason now.
Yeah, we are.
Any kind of early vibe you're getting from the teams? Like, is there any team that's jumping out to you early, Pat?
Well, I know for my team, I'm happy they kind of redid Matthew Judon's contract and got him some money and got him kind of secured and taken place of because he is fucking phenomenal. And dragging Asante Samuel on the weekly. Fuck Asante Samuel. If
Wow.
If you know, you know. If you don't,
Yeah.
look up Asante Samuel's Twitter account. That's all I'm going to say. And then I know they just re-signed Trey Flowers, who won 2 Super Bowls with them. So I'm happy for them securing up the defense. From what I've seen from Mike Reese of ESPN, who is the Patriots reporter for ESPN, it sounds like the preseason has been going well and that the offense has been going good. I know they've been moving around. I know the only issue they've been having is with the offensive line, but that's because they've been moving parts around and trying to figure out, okay, what configuration are we going to go with? But it sounds like things are going well with Mac and the offense. You know, I know Gesicki's going to be the most interesting thing to see what happens this year on offense. You know, they got the 2 tight end threat. We know what happened last time Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator and he had 2 tight ends. Granted, he had Tom Brady, Mac Jones, not Tom Brady, but we'll see what happens. So for the Patriots, I'm excited to see where it goes. Am I expecting a Super Bowl? Fuck no. Am I happy if we just make it above 500? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Patriots are sounding good. I didn't hear about any really crazy stories breaking out of camps anywhere.
No.
Just everybody's still in that early feeling stage.
The only thing I know with training camps and preseason is starting tonight as we record on HBO and on Max will be the Hard Knocks with the New York Jets.
That could be fun.
I've seen a couple clips already. I'm real interested.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And, I mean, I guess to close with, I think for the Bills, the best thing I've seen is DeMar Hamlin's back in pads.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
It's a great sight to see him back on the field playing. And
The man was legally dead less than a year ago.
yeah, I mean, that's still, watching that game still, that image is still haunting. But to see him back now in pads running and the reactions he's been getting from the fans has been nothing but love, and rightfully so.
And it goes without saying, fuck Skip Bayless.
Yes. So that being said, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. It's the first week of preseason, still some storylines going on, a couple free agents still out and not signed yet. Where do you think everybody's going to head? How is your team looking thus far? I know it's still the early prediction, but hey, we don't mind talking football here on the ODPH. That's what we kind of do here. So hit us up, let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Alan Dunford here from Top Hat Studios, co-writer and co-creator of Pocus Hocus and Grandma Chainsaw, and you guys are listening to the ODPH podcast.
Gotta be down to the punch, 'cause they can't bring me down if I'm already under the ground.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. First of which is obviously the local minute, and looking at the Binghamton Rumble Pony schedule from this past week, they played a home series against the New Hampshire, where on Tuesday, August the 1st, they won by the final score of 2-0. They came back on Wednesday, lost by the final score of 3-1, won on Thursday by the final score of 6-0. They started the game on Friday, but however, due to weather, it was suspended. Picked up on Saturday, August the 5th as part of a doubleheader where they won by the final score of 4-1, won the second game by the final score of 4-3, and then on Sunday lost by the final score of 8-4. They are on the road this week playing a series against the Somerset Patriots, that is, of course, the AA affiliate of the New York Yankees, so a little bit of Subway Series action going on. However, there is some stuff going on at the stadium this weekend before they return home next week on August the 15th to play Portland. This Saturday, August 12th, is another one of the summer movie series, and this is Saturday, August 12th. The gates open at 6:30 p.m. The movie starts at 7:30 p.m. Admission is free. Concessions will be available, and the movie they're showing this weekend, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Okay.
So, hey, if you got nothing going on this weekend, obviously weather permitting, here in the Northeast, because the weather is always kind of crazy, you can stop down to the stadium here in Binghamton and watch a movie on the giant video screen in center field, which is always a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next, we got to talk about some baseball, because I did go to a game this past Saturday.
Yes, we did not lead into it, but Pad did
Yes,
survive.
I did survive. I got a couple of looks from some security guards. I joined in the festivities of that being booing Jose Altuve profusely, booing Alex Bregman profusely. At one point, we were chanting 4'7". That would be Jose Altuve's height. We were making fun of Jose Altuve's height. No, the Yankees ended up coming out on the win by the final score of 3-0. Got to see Nestor Cortez make his return after being on the injured list. Only pitched 4 innings because he just came off the injured list. He only threw, I think it was like 64 pitches, but threw an incredible 4 innings. He only gave up 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned run. That was a home run to Jose Altuve, which was promptly thrown back onto the field. Walked 1, struck out 8 guys. A hell of a first start for him, but you got to give credit to the Yankees pitching staff, because they struck out 16 batters on Saturday against the Houston Astros, going up against Justin Verlander, which maybe it's me, because the last 2 games I've gone to, I went to a game against the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2019 where Zach Greinke started that game. Left midway through the game because he got traded to the Houston Astros partway through the game. That was wild. And then the next game I go to, it's Justin Verlander. So I don't know. Maybe it's me. Whenever I go to a Yankee game, a big name pitcher shows up. But regardless, Yankees picked up the win. You had a home run from Gleyber Torres, home run from Jake Bowers, which was awesome. Got to say, the most puzzling and surprising moment of the game was when Jake Bowers, I think it was Jake Bowers, comes up to Hey Baby by Hurricane Chris.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, what is this, 2006? But Bowers, Bay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I get it. No, the game was good, though. Had a great time. Like I said, booed profusely, chanted fuck Jose Altuve, chanted his height. It was a great time. A lot of fun.
I'm going to say, Pat is keeping it very toned down about what really went down at the Bronx.
Yes.
So, for legal reasons.
Yes.
So, but I'm glad to see you came back. I'm glad you had a great time at the Bronx.
Glad they got a win.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, the Yanks right now,
Yeah, they're not so good.
not so good at all.
You know what was good, though, is experiencing the new kind of pace of play for Major League Baseball in person, because you see it on TV, and it goes by so fucking quick in person, because the game was at 105, started at, I think, 107, 108 after the national anthem and introductions and all that stuff.
Sure.
Was over by 3:30.
Oh, wow.
It was, swear to God, it was over by 3:30. The game time was like 2.5 hours. So it was over by 2:30. And then I was out of the city by a little after 4:00. So that was incredible. And it was real quick. Did not drag on, nothing going on. I got to say, I was a little skeptical of the whole pitch clock and all this other stuff. In person, phenomenal and really move things along. I endorse it entirely.
Awesome, man.
Also got to talk some Premier League soccer, because soccer starts back up in the UK here. Starting this Friday, you've got a couple games going on. Well, one game going on, Burnley, Manchester City going on there. You've got a whole slew of games going on Saturday. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. You've got Luton Town, who's the new rags to riches story. They've got the super small in the middle of their town field, the rags to riches, coming from basically almost falling out of entire existence and winning each league all the way through. So what are they going to be able to do this year? You got Everton in there playing Fulham, who your personal favorite team with over there with AEW.
Oh boy.
And Tony Khan and all those guys.
Oh boy.
Yep. And then on Sunday, you've got Chelsea and Liverpool taking place. So Premier League soccer starting this weekend in the States, going to be on USA Network and on Peacock. So definitely give it a watch if you need something to watch this weekend. And then we got to talk some baseball again, because there's been a little situation going on with the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. Let us address this, and I guess we'll give a disclaimer. The thought, views, and opinions of Padawan J do not reflect the ODPH. Listener discretion is advised.
So there's the announcer for the Baltimore Orioles broadcast, the guy who does the play-by-play, makes the calls and all that, not the color commentator, but the announcer, Kevin Brown. During the O's game against the Rays on July 23rd, had made a comment basically saying like, hey, and I'm paraphrasing, hey, the Orioles are doing really good against the Rays. That basically, like, they've done better this year against the Rays than they have the last two seasons. And a graphic appeared on screen, which this is from the reading from the video on YouTube of the broadcast. Mm-hmm. And the graphic reads, last 16 series against this is specifically the Baltimore Orioles against the Tampa Bay Rays. In the last 16 series, Baltimore was 0-15-1.
Ooh.
15 straight series losses before this season. The last series win Baltimore had against Tampa Bay was from June 23rd to June 25th, 2017. Well, this season, they've got 3 wins in 5 games. And from 2020 to 2022, they had 3 total wins in 21 games against Tampa Bay. So effectively, they've done as well this year against Tampa Bay than they have done the past 2 years combined.
Mm-hmm.
He brought this up. Now, this wasn't like spontaneously brought up on the toughest. It was in the media guide for the game.
Right.
He brought this up, and then what happened is he was seemingly suspended. Now, Baltimore has come out and said, well, we don't talk about internal matters. He's not suspended. Dude hasn't been on TV since this occurred. Mm-hmm. For all intents and purposes, he's been suspended. He hasn't been on TV. It's been reported today he's going to be appearing back on TV here in the next couple of days, because, well, everyone from John Sterling and Susan Waldman of the Yankees broadcast to the Red Sox TV broadcast to Michael Kay of the Yankees broadcast and the Mets broadcast and everyone else in between. I know the White Sox broadcast took a dig at the Baltimore Orioles, because what happened with this is absolutely egregious. The Baltimore Orioles owner is John Angelos, which, whether he's in charge of this, I'm not entirely sure. He's 94 years old, so it could be a case of his son, John P. Angelos, is in charge of this and making the calls behind the scenes. Gutless. It's absolutely classless. You need to be able to have some thick skin, because obviously in this instance he's fucking thin-skinned, and took this to heart when, hey, listen, he wasn't criticizing the team. He's saying, hey, they're doing good this year. They've done better as good this year as they have the last 2 years, So it's not a criticism. But it's a running history with Baltimore and their broadcasters. They famously had the broadcaster John Miller as their broadcaster, who you might know John Miller if you Google him. He was the broadcaster of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball for years and years.
For years.
He was the broadcast broadcaster, commentator for the Baltimore Orioles until the in the 80s, and then he was let go and all this nonsense because they felt he didn't bleed orange and black. He then would go to sign with this and announce games for the San Francisco Giants, which, Ken, remind me what the colors of the San Francisco Giants are?
Black and orange?
Yeah, exactly. They also had the legendary baseball announcer Gary Thorne, which they let him go in 2021. So I don't know what it is with the Baltimore ownership, but he wasn't criticizing the team. He wasn't saying anything negative or derogatory. He's just saying what was provided in the media press book of a statistic, and the graphic that was presented on screen wasn't pulled out of the graphics guy's ass. Mm-hmm. This was done, if you've ever done graphics, you can't type it up that quickly. This was done in preparation for the game. So a couple hours, if not an hour before game time and before broadcast. So this wasn't pulled out of his ass. This was, hey, this is a talking point. This is a good thing. But to the ownership of the Baltimore Orioles, I say, get some thicker skin.
I will say this. I agree with you. If this happened, because this is all allegedly the reason being.
Well, yeah.
But there's smoke to fire.
Yeah.
So we want to stress this.
He said this. There's video of this. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it on YouTube. And after he said this, he was not on TV.
Right. So we're just going to do the legality portion here.
Yeah.
The allegedly. This is a very bad look, to put mildly. And I will paraphrase, I believe it was Michael Kay was on the Peter Rosenberg show.
Well, it was the Michael Kay show with Peter Rosenberg.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his show.
But he brought up a point on there, and I thought this kind of says it all. There was a graphic for this that was brought up, and it showed how the Orioles had struggled against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Mm-hmm.
So a graphic went up, right?
Yep.
He is doing his job as a reporter/journalist, reporting the facts. I mean, you can't say this didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is statistically in the history books. So if you're going to go after him, allegedly, then why didn't you go after the entire production team?
Yep.
Allegedly. Why is it that you singled out somebody? You're going to say, well, that was the face that everybody knew, the voice that said it. Doesn't matter. He's reporting on what has happened. And guess what? Stats don't lie.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get mad at him about it, that's one thing. But to single him out when it went through numerous people and they don't get in trouble is a little upsetting.
Yeah, John Sterling, Susan Waldman, who've been calling the Yankees. John's been calling Yankees games for a couple decades now. John Sterling said, quote, "I've been on the air for 63 years, so I've seen a million nutty things happen in this nutty business, but this is right up there with the nuttiest. When you hear it, I think you'll understand it. It has to do with an announcer named Kevin Brown of Baltimore. Anyway, Kevin Brown in a game was extolling the virtues of the new Orioles, talking about what happened in the past. And the owner of the Orioles, a guy named John Angelos, decided that was negative and he suspended him. Quote, "It's amazing to me," added Waldman. "How can you do your job if you can't tell the truth?" But he didn't even say anything negative. He was extolling how good they are because look at what they've done this year and in the past. They didn't do it. So I don't understand it. When I saw the clip, I was waiting for him to say something horrible and it was not. I've never heard any of that in my life, Sterling continued. If that guy was our boss, we'd get fired every day. We comment that the Yankees have terrible batting averages and they have terrible on-base percentages. That's the truth. How can you? Anyway, every day that would be a problem for us, close quote.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. As people that are in the media, and if you call it right down the middle, and I know if you listen to 607 TWS, you hear that a lot, you're going to report on what you have.
Yeah.
If you're going to speak on it. You can give opinions, but this is an actual factual record.
Yeah.
So how are you going to penalize it? Because if this is the case, well, we could go through the history of your organization and mention it.
Yeah.
So what? That's a problem? I'm sorry. If you want everybody on your payroll to make everything sound like it's all, roses and perfection.
Right.
There's a fine line between fandom and fake make-believe. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem you have here. You are allowed to, as somebody that covers the sport and having that opinion, to report on the facts.
Yeah.
You can't fudge them.
No.
I'm sorry. Like, it is what it is.
You know, this isn't the 90s, the 80s, or any other time prior where you had to either have somebody who like knew the history on the back of their hand or have some sort of sports almanac to look this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone with a phone or an internet or access to a library or some sort of computer can go on the web and look this stuff up in the matter of not even a second.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't hidden. This isn't hard to find anymore. This isn't obscure. This is easy to find. You guys have been shit for so long that honestly, I'm happy for the Baltimore doing as well as they are.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd like to see it. Would I like to see the Yankees up top? Absolutely. But hey, if it's somebody else getting the shot, hey, good for them.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you got the owner being thin-skinned and thinking whatever the reasoning is that the announcer got suspended, because let's face it, it isn't officially, and they don't comment on internal politics or whatever the phrase was.
Mm-hmm.
The dude said the comment and hasn't been on TV since. Let's call a spade here. You suspended him because you got thin skin. Grow up.
Exactly. There's no room for that in this day and age. I'm sorry. People are allowed to have the opinions if they're reporting on the facts. That's what it is. You can't change history. Otherwise, you know, it's a different story. But you have to report on what there is. I'm sorry that you have a winning season this year and you guys can't be happy about that.
Yeah.
And admit that, hey, we've had some years that not so good. But hey, we're winning right now. This was the past. This is the present. Let's go from here. But this is hopefully a learning experience. And I would say I kind of hope the higher-ups at Major League Baseball take a look at this, because this is very unsettling behavior.
Yeah.
If this is all true.
Yep.
So hopefully he gets back on the air sooner than later.
Yep.
All right, so let us go to some comic news, because obviously with the Entertainment Edition being on somewhat hiatus due to the whole SAG-AFTRA strike, there isn't a lot we can talk about, but there is some comic book news that we can talk about.
Okay.
And I guess I will get to the good news first, because when we talk Spider-Man these days, I know a lot of times you're going to get a reaction one way or another.
It's a mixed bag.
Right. But just coming out from the press release from the fine folks at Marvel Entertainment, Steve Fox and Carola Baroli are launching a new Spider-Woman ongoing series coming out in November. I'm showing Pad the cover now by Leanne Francis Yu.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, who last time we saw that artwork was Secret Invasion, which we just talked about on Nerd Initiative's Turn a Page, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on Nerd Initiative YouTube. So that series is going to be coming out on November 29th, I believe. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. So the further stories of Jessica Drew coming out of the big gang war storyline that's coming in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. You definitely want to keep an eye out for that. But there is another story that we're going to get official confirmation a little later this week, because Marvel did send out a teaser about a certain picture touting the most notorious Spider-Man story ever told.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
And this led to a lot of speculation from fans.
Mm-hmm.
And Pad, have you ever read Spider-Man Reign?
No. Well, have I read it cover to cover? No, I read the when we were discussing this yesterday, I did read the kind of Wikipedia summary, which, as we were discussing off air, even the Wikipedia page glances over some finer details.
Yeah, this is under the Marvel Knights brand back in 2006, I believe. And this is, whenever you see that kind of show up there, it teases of the mature readers line, so to speak. Almost like a Marvel Max, if you will.
Okay.
I know the Marvel Knights was kind of the brand name when they decided to do some more serious tones in the late 90s, early 2000s with the Black Panther series, the Inhumans, Daredevil with Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada on it.
Right.
And seeing that on there, this kind of definitely brought back some memories. Reign is a very, very unique Spider-Man story. And if you haven't read it, it is arguably one of the most polarizing stories in all of Spider-Man's history. It ranks up there with One New Day.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Of the either you really love it or you really hate it. There's not a gray area about this. So the fact that we're going back to that universe, so to speak, and we say allegedly because it has not been confirmed yet, but we are probably going to get some more news, I would assume, later this week. I don't know how I feel about this. I didn't think that we needed a sequel to this,
Right.
but I am very interesting to see how the take is going to be, especially if they try topping the original Reigns series. Because, like I say, it's a very, very different Spider-Man story. So take it with a grain of salt, but stay tuned for that. Hit us up on that hashtag, ODPH Pod, and let us know, have you read Reign? What's your feelings on a sequel? That's what I want to have that discussion with, because I think that comics social media is going to be an interesting day when the official announcement is done.
It's kind of a given with Spider-Man these days.
Right. Well, Spider-Man these days is definitely giving a lot of different reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you love it, whether you hate it, you're talking about it. And I think that that's the big thing, because if nobody's talking about a book, it disappears. But I think with Spider-Man, especially with the latter half of 2023 coming up, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that we're going to kind of have to hold our breath and see how everything plays out. But I definitely, after seeing this, what is going on here, that was my instant reaction to this. And I definitely want to talk with fans about this week. So hit me up on those hashtags and let's talk about it. But before we head on out of here, we're talking comics. We need those comic picks. Pad, kick us off.
Got 3 this week, 2 from Marvel, 1 from Dynamite Comics. The first one from Marvel is Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 31. This one from Zeb Wells. This one, oversized 86 pages.
They've been doing that a lot lately with that Spider-Man run.
So obviously it's going to cost you a little bit extra, but this one, it's the wedding of the year. Peter Parker is the best man, and Tombstone is walking the bride down the aisle. That's right. Janice Lincoln and Randy Robertson are tying the knot. And there's no way all the crime bosses in New York City aren't seeing this as an opportunity to off Tombstone. So that one should be very interesting to read. Also from Marvel this week, you've got Star Wars issue number 37. This one, another one of the Dark Droids. And on the cover, this one says Lando versus Lobot. Now, for those of you who might not remember Lobot is the character from The Empire Strikes Back, who was kind of like Lando's assistant on Cloud City. This one says, Lobot lost, a dark droid's tie-in. Something has gone horribly wrong with Lobot, putting the rebellion at terrible risk. Lando Calrissian will do anything to save his friend, even if it means betraying the rebels. Will the scourge of the droids destroy any chance to cure Lobot, or will he be lost forever? So again, Star Wars, Charles Soule, can't go wrong. Lastly, certainly not leastly, from the folks over at Dynamite Comics this week, Gargoyles Dark Ages, issue number 2 from Greg Weisman. This one is, again, the origin of the Gargoyles, and it continues. It says, in the second installment of the Dark Ages saga, Kenneth and Mentor's Human and Gargoyle Alliance battle King Cullen's army with some magical help from the Archmage. Mentor orders Goliath's generation to stay back as they aren't yet seasoned warriors, but Angel and Hippolyta disobey Mentor's orders and join the fighting at great cost. And it was, of course, written by Gargoyles creator Greg Weisman and illustrated by star artist Drew Moss. This 40-page issue also features illustrated text story by Greg Weisman. So definitely something to check out this week because Gargoyles is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. You've been singing the praises about that for a while. So obviously it's living up to your expectations. It's doing something right. On my end, a couple from DC this week jumping out. Pad, this is going to be one I know you're going to be checking out. Superman 2023 Annual number 1.
Hell yeah.
So this is a continuation from the Joshua Williamson run, which I think we have said this on the show, but I will scream this at the top of my lungs. What they're doing on the Superman line right now in the dawn of DC is nothing short of spectacular. And the Joshua Williamson first arc is wrapped up very, very wildly, by the way, too. If you haven't checked out issue 5 of Superman, that definitely did it. For me, I was like, holy smokes, we're going some places. This annual is taken through the eyes of Lois Lane, though. This really isn't a spoiler if you've been reading the series since it came back. She is currently the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet.
Right.
And this is her take about recapping pretty much everything that's been going on and the Daily Planet team going out and getting some stories. It does have a lot of great one-on-one moments with a lot of the supporting cast of Superman. So I really love this issue, but I'm going to tell you the final half of the book is going to blow some people away.
Nice.
And you're not ready for like what happens. Knowing you especially,
Right.
you're going to be freaking out when you read it. So definitely say go check that out. I mean, it has a whole star-studded lineup of artists on it. Really cool stuff going on there. Also, World's Finest Teen Titans, Mark Waid writing Teen Titans. That's all I really need in my life. So doing a spectacular job, and that series has definitely been one that I've been keeping my eyes on. Night Terrors, #3, Joshua Williamson, and the team over there doing the big crossover, which you've seen in every single DC Comics book right now. Mm-hmm. This is the flagship book, and it's definitely a different take. I was not expecting it to be what it is.
Okay.
But with the whole story of Insomnia and what he's trying to do and the backstory involved, and like I say, it's a really cool concept. Much like any big crossovers, though, in my opinion, some issues are hits, some issues are missed. I think this one definitely extended the story because we're getting at that midway point. Very cool guest cameo involving the two main heroes of this, which is Deadman and the Golden Age Sandman, and what is going on here. So, like I say, if you've been digging the whole Night Terrors crossover throughout the entire DCU, this is one you definitely want to keep an eye out for. I know that they've got a bunch of different spinoffs this week, so if you haven't been checking them out, I highly recommend you go get it. And definitely we can interact about that as we go because there's a lot of good stuff coming out from there. On the Marvel side of things, there's a Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance series, which the cover looks amazing, and that will just be take my money all the time. So a lot of cool things happening there. The Fall of X storyline is kicking into high gear with Immortal X-Men, #14. And then one that I have on my radar, and just because I know his work from 20th Century Men and Bloodshot Unleashed, and that is Dennis Camp, who's now writing Children of the Vault for Marvel. So it's a little spin-off series involving the Fall of X. It's a very cool thing. If you've never read his stuff, it's very good, but it's very, very gritty. It's intense. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's awesome stuff. So I can't really wait. I can't wait to see what he does with, now being in the X universe. I think there's some cool stuff going to happen there. Also, Avengers 4, Jed McKay, Stuart Ramon, really doing some cool things there, along with the Spider-Man stuff, because like I say, they got a lot of cool things happening. So
Yeah.
definitely don't want to miss that. On the Image Comics side of things, the Enfield Gang Massacre is coming out. This is a book, if you like that Texas Blood, this is going to be one right up your alley, so you definitely want to keep an eye out for that. Kaya 10 by Wes Craig is coming out. That one I know we're going to be reviewing on Nerd Initiative. Shout out to Marty Stokes. He's got that locked and loaded and dropping. And last but not least, Boom Studios. Holy smokes, man. They got a lineup this week. House of Slaughter #16 returns. Now, this is the spinoff of the Something is Killing the Children book.
Okay.
And this is done anthology style, so it's all pretty much separate contained stories featuring different members. This is taking a look at one of the most notable white masks of the Order of St. George. So this is going to be one that, like I say, you definitely don't want to miss. The series has been hitting on all cylinders. Every single story they've done, whether they've covered the different members of the groups, like I say, the black masks, the white masks, the reds, they've been really taking the time to give these characters some big moments that they're connecting. And like ever since the first issue, I think this series, they have a kind of a rotating cast who comes in creative team-wise, but they're still hitting all strides. So you definitely want to check that out. Also, one of the most interesting series I have read in quite some time is returning after a hiatus.
Okay.
Damn Them All. So this is Simon Spurrier and Charles Adlard, who you know from The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
So they are now returning in regular series format. Volume 1 is also going to be out. If you haven't checked it out, combining issues 1 through 6. This is one, if you're a fan of like Supernatural Constantine stuff, this is going to be right up your alley. Like, it's crazy. This entire series is wild, but it's a fantastic read. I really enjoy it, and I can't wait to check this issue out when it drops. And last but not least, there is a series that's coming out that is got a very big TV project coming to, and that's Mech Cadets. So this is going to be one, I'm telling you right now, you want to go pick this up at your shops this week. There's definitely going to be a buzz about this, and if you haven't seen the trailers out, definitely make a point to go see it. And as we always say, before we end up closing the show down. Make sure to go out to your favorite local comic shops and go support them. Go get some issues. Go talk some comics. And definitely go support your favorite independent comic podcast. We're all out here doing some work, trying to give you the best additions to your collection that we can do each and every week. So that being said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's all for this week. So for the one and only Padawan Jay,
Fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.
Gonna be down to the punch. I'm gonna be down to the punch. 'Cause they can't bring